All right, everybody, we are here October 1st, Ruby Tuesday, KL 110 events. Today's event is brought to you by Ruby Malaysian Group and our longtime friends at Engineers My. You can find us on all these places, Discord, Slack, GitHub, Meetup, Facebook, and whatnot. Today, we are here at Shortcut Asia's office, and they are sponsoring and having us venue food and drinks sponsored by Shortcut Asia. We turn your ideas into reality. Thank you so much, Amen, and everybody at Shortcut Asia for having us. It's cool to be back here. This time I made it. Last time we had a meetup here, I was getting really sick, so I joined online. I was sad at home. But anyway, so remember to introduce yourself. My name is Helio Kuala. I'm one of the organizers of Ruby Malaysia. Right away at the back here, there is another one organizer, Tristan. Tristan has been doing this for, I don't know, something like 10 years, 10, 11 years. Just a reminder for the folks online, your profile name, picture, and comment might show up on the stream. So keep that in mind. We go by the Ruby community, Ruby language code of conduct. In short, just remember to treat each other nicely and with respect. And today we have one talk, and it's about Rails 8 authentication generator and perhaps Passkeys. So let me get to it. Rails 8 authentication generator or generate authentication and perhaps Passkeys. My name is Helio. I've been doing software development for a really long time. I've been using Ruby on Rails for by now more than half of my career. And here's the agenda of my talk. So let's get to it. Rails 8 authentication gen. We're going to review the code that gets generated. We're going to run some demo, see what's there, what's not, some edge cases, what can be improved, and perhaps if we have time, we'll talk about passkeys at the end. So Rails 8 Gen 8, right? So this is all you guys should be familiar with. Install Ruby, install Rails. So right now, Rails 8.0.0 beta is already released on Ruby gems. So it's kind of easier. Just install that, put it in a gem file, or install and then run Rails new on Rails 8. And then you run generate authentication. And voila, right? And then you have your authentication, everything done for you, auto-generated. So when you run that command, this is what you see on your screen. So I did a Rails -- version here just to make sure I get the right version and being Rails generate authentication. And that's what it always spits out. There's some shenanigans going on Bundler or Ruby, I don't know, but it doesn't look as clean as these. It looks like really dirty, but I just cleaned up a bunch of weird error message that I didn't want to deal with. I'm not sure if it's related to the latest bundler or to the latest Ruby, because I did these with 3.3.5, which is the very latest Ruby. So I don't know what's up there, but there's something weird on my machine. But basically, when you run Rails 8 generate authentication, you get a bunch of views, password, sessions. You get 3 modules: session, user, and current. 3 controllers, or actually 2 controllers and 1 concern authentication. You have a password mailer, just they baked in some reset password by email features in the authentication in the generation. And what else? There is some change to the application controller. There's 2 resources at the routes, passwords and session. It changed gem file in order to do the secure password. You added the bcrypt to your password. And then these are the migrations, right? There's one migration to create the users table and one migration to create the sections table. So let's look into their code now. Let's see what gets there generated. So I have these up running here on my machine. Let me see where I am. Okay, so that's what this is the one that I want. Now, okay, all right, so as you can see here, so that's kind of what got generated there. I run Rails new. I run, I changed Rails because when I did these, Rails 8 was not released yet, so I had to use the main branch. And there was some shenanigans here with SQLite as well. So the latest Rails 8 needs SQLite 2.1 and above. In Rails 7 is still set to 1.4. But anyway, there was some jams here, installation, and this is what I just showed you guys there in the screenshot, right? So when you run bin Rails generated authentication, these are all the files that you get. So let's take a look on that. So let's see what I was planning here. So we'll look at the user. Let's look at models and migrations first. So user has that has secure password. Has secure password is what this is available since Rails 7.1, I think, and it just gives you helper methods to authenticate user passwords and to generate a secure password for your user model. And in the Rails authentication generator, that comes in by default. That gets added to the user model by default. And then the user model is very simple, email address and passwords. The session belongs to user, right? User has a signed in session. And at the session level, the generator also adds some basic stuff, just an IP address and user agent. And there is a model called current that is just an active support. So let's look into that code. So let me flip back here now to my not beloved test editor. So basically we have these two migrations. Like I was saying, the users is like very simple. There's only email and password. So if you're one of those who always complain about device having 55 columns in the user table, so this table is for you. There's only email and password. For authentication, the bare minimum that you need is just email and password, nothing else. If you're one of those that enjoy these features that device gives you for free, you're going to miss some columns in this table. But anyway, that's what the generator, the Rails generator generates for you. This is for the next part of the talk. And the other migration sessions belongs to user, IP address, and timestamps. Very, very simple. So the models that gets generated, these Rails app is pretty much basically just Rails new and being Rails generated authentication. That's just it. At least on this commit point, right? So I did a few more things. So let's look at the models now. So user here has secure password. That's what brings in a bunch of helper methods and generate a secure password for you, and does a few more things under the hood for you that you don't need to worry about. Has many sessions. That's the migration that I created. This is one thing that's coming now. That the generator also generates for you, auto-generates for you. And this normalizes a new method also created on Rails 7.1. We all had our own way of stripping characters and making down case on email. So now Rails from 7.1 and above gives you this normalize that makes it a lot easier for you to do that. And then they put it in here. It comes, when you generate the authentication, it comes by automatically for you. Session, as simple as it gets, belongs to user. This is like my sign-in session, right? I just sign into something. From the faces of you guys here, you are not doing Rails until Rails 2, but when I saw this reminded me how Rails 2 used to manage cookies and sessions in the database. And it's like, but anyway, you guys you haven't seen that before, so. In the current, you see, current is not an active record model. It's just a current attribute, active support current attributes. And this is going to be like your your global session. That's where your current user is going to be. And it has an attribute session, and it delegates user to the session. So we'll see a little bit more about these and how these are going to be used, but long story short, this is going to be your current user. All right, so let me see here what else I want to show here. All right, as far as model migration, that's it. It's very simple. You don't need much in the authentication generator. Do not give you too much more than that. All good there, Tristan? All good? All right. So routes and views, right? So generates the routes, resource session, resource passwords with a token. That's the reset password token. In the views, we have session new for signing. We have password new for you to create or initiate a password reset. And you have password edit, which is after you get a token, you can change your password. So that's pretty much what you see here. It's the features that's built in for you. It's very, very little. It's not too much. But also, it's the first time that this is being released, right? Most likely, this is going to grow a little bit more. So, all right, let me see here what controllers. Okay, I guess let me see what the views look like. So, okay, routes and views. So routes, the typical Rails stuff, Rails 7 stuff, and then this is what gets generated. Resource session, resource password, param token. And the views that we saw there are also very, very simple. It does not generate too much stuff. So the new is just the typical flashes, right? So the alert, notice, and then a very basic form with email address, password, and password. This is the sign-in, right? There is no. By the way, I want to mention in a few minutes, but the authentication generator does not generate a form for you to sign up, only to sign in. And the new password, you put your email and you submit, and then you're going to get email reset instructions. That's how they thought it was. They wanted to do password reset as far as the Rails core team goal and plans for the authentication generator. And the edit is just a field that gets the token, gets your new passwords, and move on. So let's see what else. Okay, so now controllers. Let's look at the controllers. We have session controller, password controllers, and the authentication concern. So let's look into that. Controllers. Sessions controller. So here there's a couple things, right? So this rate limit is something new that comes to Rails. They are trying to more and more make this easy for you to do rate limit. Nothing, but it comes by default. Here's where you start doing your stuff, right? Allowed authenticated access only new and create. So unauthenticated access from these two. So that's your sign in, right? These two actions are public. Anybody can use. Destroy, even though they don't have a link for you to destroy, they don't generate some handy navigations. The destroy of a session is just called this helper method here that we're going to see in a bit, and redirect back to the session, to the session URL. Passwords allow unauthorized access, and then there's a set token here. So this is part of the authentication concern, which we're going to see next. But in the password reset, because the reset is done by email, is also public. You can go in there. If someone tries to reset your password, you're going to get an email. And then basically the create does that. If you can find the user, it sends the email and then sends a message, right? Just pops up a message, hey, your password should be on the way. Your email with your token to reset your password should be on the way. The update is very simple. Update password. And then this is just a helper method that you set the token, you find the user based on the token. And now here comes some more interesting stuff. Authentication concern. This one here is going to remind a lot of stuff from device that you used before, if you use Rails and device or any other authentication. So there is by default, when this gets added, you get a require authentication, and there is a helper method authenticated, which check if your current session is present. And you have the allow unauthorized access. We saw these in a few controllers, which basically is keep authentication. So if you don't do anything, by default, you're going to require authentication. If you want to skip it, you allow unauthorized access, and then you skip authentication. And then here there is a couple of helper methods that you're going to use throughout, that are used throughout. So authenticated, require authentication, which is resume session. Resume session is find session by the cookie and setting that current model that we just talked about, we just saw it. Find session by the cookies, find the session in the database, get the session ID from the cookies, and find that in the database. Request authentication. Here, there's an interesting thing. It stores your navigation URL. If you navigate to a URL that requires authentication, we're going to store that. We're going to send you back to the sign in, and then after sign in, if you have something, we're going to take you there, and then that happens here in the after authentication URL. And then starting a new session is just creating a new sessions on that user, and then set the cookie session ID that later is used to find the session. Anyway, all of these are helper methods that comes by default from you. Instead of you setting device, now you get these authentication concern back that does a few handy methods, and is a place where you can extend, you can do other things. Maybe not a good idea to touch on this file, but in other places. But it's a place where if you need to customize something, you can. It's on your application. It's not a third-party gem that you usually don't go monkey patching. Usually. So moving on. Mailers. There's mailers is very simple. There's password mailer and the views and the tests. These are very, very simple. The mailers, they're super simple. Application mailer has nothing. Password mailer, there is a reset, which sends you that reset. And the views for these mailers are even simpler. It's just a, hey, here is your URL, right? You can reset your password in the next 15 minutes. So by default, the token generator is 15 minutes. You can customize that in your model, and that has secure password. I didn't go into the details of that, but if you want to change these 15 minutes, you can. And that's HTML versus test. That's it. Demo time. So with that said, so let's see what looks like this app. Remember, I'm still on that commit point that I have some more stuff that I did for this demo, but basically what we're going to demo here is now Rails new, some gems, and being Rails authentication generator. This is exactly what comes out of the box for you. All right, let's see what happens. So let's see what we have here. There we go. If you go localhost, let me see. There was a bunch of okay, user account. Okay, there's as I change to the different branches there on this presentation. Sometimes I get some nice messages, some friendly messages. Anyway, you run Rails S, right? There's nothing here. I just did bundle exec Rails S, and then you get that. I didn't even customize the root path. The root path is still this one, but now we're gonna look into these, right? So we need to mock users because remember there is no sign up. There is only sign in and change password. So let's do that. Let me show you here now. Rails C. I'm gonna show you that what that normalize does, right? Remember user.create email address. If someone does like a space in my@gmail.com and they copy and paste from somewhere and they do that, it automatically it strips that out, right? So that's what that normalize does. Strip in lowercase. Also, if it does like these, right? My email, it gets done that, and that's before the saving, so everything gets good stuff. Anyway, so that's really 7.1 is not nothing new here. So password, let's see, a very strong password, just for us to play around with it. So, all right, I created my password, my user, right? So these got the user. All right, so now user.account. So I will mark only one now. I think these are the. I have a specific scenario that wanna. Oh yeah, sign in and signing over it, but maybe we'll do that later on in the presentation. I can show you what this means, which is kind of weird edge case that I feel like the authentication generator could close a few edge cases. But anyway, let's get into that. So now I'm gonna go to my session new. Is that the one? Yeah, there you go. This time around, I did not spend time kind of putting my skeleton CSS here. So you'll see bare bones input text here. So what is the email that I created? Was my.email.com, right? So if I go here, my.email.com, and I type my very strong password, what do you guys feel like is going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen after I click sign in?
Oh, you should. Wait, did that?
Or it's going to blow up. It's going to get an error message. But this error message is because... so it is what happened here. Like it authenticated your user, and it told me this error message because root URL it's not defined, and it's not defined because like I mentioned, this is like a really bare bones application. I did not even did anything, and the root path there is no home controller, so the root path doesn't exist. But the place where that goes is let's look at the authentication concern. So here's the line where it breaks, right? So after authentication, you redirect the root URL if you don't have something. If you didn't navigate to a URL, that's what it does. But anyway, you are authenticated. You got authenticated. So, and basically, if we trace the execution flow of these, let's look into what is that? Sessions controller, right? So I got into here, and then I found one user with that used this method authenticated by params, email address, and password. And then these I can actually test here on the console as well. Actually, let me see if we can.
See the cookies in the browser.
Great question. Let's see. I think further down the line, yeah, that's a good question. I saw that. Let me find her. Storage, cookies. I have too much stuff here on my localhost 3000, but let's see which one here. You see Hotwire Rails blog is the last one. This is another one. Session ID. I think it's this one here. It got created now. Oh, there is a max age. There is actually, I somewhere I said that I'm not sure if this is the one, but it seems like the one.
Last access today, so it is.
Yeah, 12.
Plus 8 hours.
Yeah, my laptop time zone is kind of weird. It's kind of funky, but anyway, that's I'm not sure if it's this one. It used to be, I think it was named something else. Oh, this is the one. You see, off-gen sample session. So this is my token. Okay. 12:24 last access by created. Oh, GMT. Anyway, time zones. We're not gonna discuss time zone here today. Anyway, I think this is the one. But anyway, let's move on here. So let me see what else I had planned here. So, oh, change password. So we sign in. This sign in over it, I'll show you later, some other time, later on in the presentation. Change password, right? So we tested this session new. Now let's do password new and password token added. So if I go to passwords new, that's what I get, right? If I hit submit, then it needs. If I put something that doesn't exist, it requires an email. Then it gives you a green message, right? So you don't want to tell anybody in your site that email exists or not. So you want to say the minimum. If someone tries to reset a password, like, hey, all right, go check your email.
This is the right way to do it.
Yeah, and this is generated by default for you. So let's look at the passwords controller. These come, so what I'm showing you here, the sign in and reset password, it comes for free. You run that Beam Rails generate authentication and you get this for free for you. And this is what it's doing here now, right? So I try to find the user. If I find the user, I send an email. But regardless whether I find it or not, the message is the same. So you don't want to tell anybody attacking, phishing your website, any information whose email you have in your database or not. That's, like you said, that's the right way to do it. Anyway, that's here. Now, if I do check my correct email, okay, let's go back to find out. That's what is the email that I created? There you go, my@email.com. And then now what happened here on my console is that this email got sent. So it didn't get sent, right? So this is just testing from example.com, my email, and that's the URL, right? So this is the whole URL that you are going to reset your password. So I have here an example. Oh, that's not it. You need one of those. I already changed these. So now, okay, I'm not going to copy these. I'm just going to try to mark it so we can see token. So if someone puts I think the dots are not good. The dots break that. There we go. So what happens in here, password reset link is invalid. That token doesn't exist, right? So this token doesn't exist. If we go back to the password controller, what's happening here is password controller. We're going to the update, right? So no, let me see. We are stopping here. When I get to the create, I'm not sure the creators update, but anyway. So I try to find a user based on the token, which again, this find by reset token comes with that has secure password, comes from you from within the framework, from within Active Record. If I don't find the user, then we throw you this. So now if I put the right URL on the right token, I do that. Now I can change my password. Instead of 111, it's going to be 2222. Now it's 2222. You guys can see it, but trust me, it's 222. And then password has been changed. So now my email.com, if I type my 1111, no good. My email, if I type 2222, what's going to happen? Blow up, because I don't have, that's the bare bones application. This, like you're supposed to have that already, but in the bare bones application that comes with the authentication generator, that doesn't exist yet. So now another interesting thing here is this. If I try to go to that URL again, remember this token is like one-time use. So if I try to go it again, bam, invalid. So that token got used, and then you cannot use it again. So we have to reset all over again. Anyway, so that is sign in, change password in these routes. That's what's coming. All right, moving on. So features, what comes from you from the authentication generate. Sign in and change password by email. So what is next? Rough edges. There is very little navigation. You have there is a controller action to destroy your session. Anyway, you should have a basic navigation, at least for you sign in and sign out. But anyway, that's a tiny little thing. If you're putting these authentication in your application, you're going to build those things yourself. But anyway, it would be nice to have that. Missing features, user sign up. I mean, I put the missing quotes because, sometimes a missing feature, sometimes is a misbehavior by design, but sometimes that's a feature. Maybe the core team does not want to give you sign up. That's up to you to decide how you're going to sign up your user, which attributes you want. But anyway, that's kind of what we're going to see in these authentication generators. Something that is DHH and the core team opinionated ideas, how they think authentication should happen, what they wanted to bake in, because everything that they put in here, they become responsible for it. And one of the reasons why they are doing this is because you can rely on them to be the experts in security and all these things. So they also, everything that they give here is gonna have to be like bulletproof, really solid for you to use, because it's on them. It's on the Rails core team to build these features that is gonna or approve the features that makes its way through the authentication generator. Added password. There is no added password for authenticated users. So there's only added passwords by email. And when I was looking at this, like after I sign in, I should expect to be able to change my password without an email. I just signed in, I put my existing password, let me edit my password. But anyway, that doesn't exist. But again, maybe it's a feature. Maybe the DHH and the Rails core team, they have the password changing philosophy that if you sign in, you should not, and you want to change your password, you should get an email. Anyway, I don't know if there is any, what is the rationale behind that? So I'm calling that a missing feature, but maybe it's a feature in itself. Anyway, some improvements that I did, like just to make this demo a little more demoable. I created a home controller. I put my Pry gem. I don't know if you guys are still using Pry or debug and whatnot. The values keep changing, whatever debug gems they like it, but I try to use the ones that they put by default, and I hate it. I love my Pry. So I created a home controller with these two methods, a public index and a hello method. So we can test a few more things, and perhaps there is a contribution that we can make to Rails. All right, so let's see. Let me see. Okay, a tiny. Okay, so now let's look at these other. Okay, so now I need my other branch. Git check first time. So this was literally the first time that I run the generator, the authentication generate method. So I named my branch first time. All right, so let's look into what the code is. So remember, these three we already seen, right? So Rails new, SQLite, and Rails main branch, being Rails generated authentication, and then these are the improvements that I made. So just some cleanup new lines. If you're into making them consistent, 2 lines is almost like tabs to me. So if you put 2 lines, I'm gonna be mad at my teammates. Sometimes now, if I put 2 lines, I will tell Robocop that, hey, that you shouldn't allow that. Anyway, so I put my Pry gems, and then here's the controls, right? So I created a home controller where allows unauthorized only on index. So index is public, hello is protected. And then those views are very simple. Index has nothing here, And there is this authenticated. Maybe I want to put some custom, even though the index is public, I want to put some custom message here if you are authenticated. And the routes, I just did that, and I changed my route path, so now I can sign in successfully. All right, so let's see what what happens. So if I go to that, so now I bypass the main one, right? So I still didn't put too much navigation here, but let's see hello. Yeah, so hello. I was supposed to find something, but anyway, hello. You see, hello is protected, and I'm not authenticated, so I'm going to come back here. So let's see if I do two, and a sign in. Now I go back to the hello. That's the feature that we saw in the authentication, that I store whatever URL you're going. If that URL requires authentication, I'm going to store that, authenticate, take you to the authentication page, to the sign-in page, and after you sign in successfully, I take you back there. Device and every other authentication, you do that. That's a nice way. And then hello, my email, right? So that's user is authenticated. And then if I go to index, this is where I do the hello public, and then this is where my sign up button is going to be. In this page, myemail.com, you can see our public information. That's just very tiny, very simple. And okay, so now here, let me kind of show you the authentication over sign in, which seems like another small little thing that we can do. I almost tried to do that, but I didn't have too much time. So let's mark another user. So this sounds like the wrong history. User.create. What is the email? Which email I'm going to create now here? Someone call an email address. You say an email address. A fake email address, please. Just an email.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no. Oh, no, my gosh. This is Ruby at meetup, Ruby at example.com. Maybe you put like a WP engine if you want to, depending on which side you want to pick a fight, which side you want to pick. Okay, password, I'm going to do my easy password. And password confirmation, 1111. Okay, so now here, so this is what happens, right? So if you have a sign-in button, if the user finds out registration, I don't know if this is a feature or a bug, but anyway, oh no, yes, sessions. No. There we go. Session. What is the email that I created? Ruby at example.com, right? So, and remember, I am authenticated here. There is a session going on. My session is active. So if I go session plural singular, and I authenticate again, hello, Ruby. So we allow multiple people to create multiple sessions, and some sessions disappear because they're still in a database, right? So session.count. There's a bunch of them, right? Some other tests that I did. But I don't know. I don't know if this is a feature, as a bug, or a misbehavior. But if you're in your website, you don't let other people sign in if there is an active session. Your sign in should say, hey, you are signed in. So anyway, maybe it's another limitation. Maybe they will close this in the future. Maybe not. Or not. I don't know. Anyway, so that's kind of what we saw. Sign in over sign in. Sign in, protect the path. That's what we go to hello and get authentication and come back. And a public key index with a current information. And this is what the perhaps an improvement is going to do. So when you are So this is our authentication concern, right? So let's open that. So let's look into these. Let's look into this scenario, right? I am in the. Let me close a bunch of stuff here. I am in the index.html, and I'm saying hello. And if my user is authenticated, I want to say, hey, Helio, or hey, your email address, hey, your name. I'm just going to greet you personally. And then, so you're gonna need to, but remember, this is a home controller. This is a public interface that you specifically say allow unauthenticated access. So when you do that, if you look at the authentication concern, when you do allow unauthentication access, you actually skip require authentication. So require authentication does two things: either finds a session for you or requests authentication. But this is what is missing, right? So if you look at my commit change here, I added this resume session to authenticated, because without it, look at what happened. Even though my view has authenticated, I'm checking for authenticated. If I refresh the page, it's gone, because authenticated, it's returning false. But it's not returning false because I don't have an authenticated session. It's returning false because in my stack trace from my controller, I am not getting into this code in the resume session method that finds my session by my cookie. So then I was like, okay, maybe authenticated should try to resume the session first, and then if I find a session if I find a session in the cookie, then sets it for me because I may use in my HTML. Anyway, there might have other ways. I poke around here a couple times. I try to create resume session helper method so I could do something like this: resume session and authenticated. I tried to poke around to see how I could do this, but I got a bunch of errors, and I tried a few things and it didn't work. And it's like, I don't have too much time. I need to finish preparing my talk, and so this did the trick for me. Anyway, so that's kind of the maybe. And then I was thinking, Rails 8 just came by. Should I open a PR on Rails to propose that? And I was like, I scratched my head. And like, last time they weren't very welcoming. So I kept myself. Maybe one of you guys should go there and do it. That's fine. That's fine with me. Anyway, to recap, features that comes for you with the authentication journey: sign in, change password by email, everything else you have to build. What is not there yet? I put here session max length, but actually the cookie does have a TTL. So it's cross that. They do have some bare minimum support to max length. Block user and failed attempts. You're going to have to build that yourself. Password complexity. Should you build that yourself or not? I don't know. But anyway, there's a ton of stuff. If you use device, a lot of people complain a lot of device that's bloated is big enough. It's too big. There's too much stuff. But all the things that are there, you don't need to build it. And in order for you to have close to a feature complete or something that you can rely on for an interesting side project or whatnot, there's a lot more things that you're going to have to build yourself. For sure, this authentication generation is going to grow. This is just the first version that they released these. The has secure password existed since Rails 7.1, but the Rails generate authentication, the generator, It's starting now with Rails 8. Anyway, so Passkeys. But anyway, before I go in, now I'm going to switch gears to Passkeys. So let me see if anybody has any question about Rails 8 authentication generator. Any question?
I think I'd like to see, like, you put bind up prior in the, when you sign in. I'd love to see the network request.
Okay, let's look at it. So that is sessions controller, right?
Yeah.
Session controller. This guy here, right? So you want to, oops. Yeah, sure. So basically, this is what we're gonna do. But I was gonna try to do in the console. Let's see here what happens. Let me see if I can do it. I can probably use that in the console. So if I do this, authenticate by, and I just do authenticate by. Let's see if I haven't tested these results. Example.com. And which one I put here? 1111, right? Given true, expected. Okay, so maybe it's like this. Yeah. So it's gonna be like the whole thing: email, address, password. There we go. It found my user 13. If I do true, it doesn't. So anyway, when I saw these again, that you can run that in the console. That's in an active record. That's a class method, so it should be there available for you. Anyway, all right. Let's see what happens there. So I'm here. I'm authenticated. Okay, so let me destroy all my sessions. Session delete all. So the session is gone. So now I'm gonna go session new Ruby example 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's look at the network tab. Network tab, disable cache. I'm gonna put all. All right, sign in. Binding bot prime. Okay, definitely. I don't have binding prime on this gem. No, I do. Did I make a typo there? Oh, maybe it's maybe when I change branches, it doesn't reload your. I don't think I have a Spring here. There you go. Post. So I think right now you cannot see here. We'll see what happens after we get back. So let's do here. So I'm gonna call that. It's supposed to be pry Rails. That gives me next. No, it isn't. Okay, so if I do this, so let me copy and paste these and see what's gonna happen. It's gonna find. And then this start new session for the user. That let's look at that. That's in the sessions controller or authenticate. No, so this is what we see. So we know that this is going to find the user of that password that I gave, and then start new session is over here. So that's what it's going to do. Start new session for user. It's going to create a session. So let's see what's going to happen there. Anyway, so it finds that user, creates my session, and then if I go back here, now I see this, and that's the post. This is what you wanted to see, authentication, authenticity token, right? Email, password, commit, sign in, that's what got sent. Response was HTML back.
What's commit sign in?
It's because when you, it's this, look. When you create a form post session, it's your button that gets added to the params and a form with, because that view is this one here, new.html, right? You see that's form, submit, sign in. If I put like so very loud sign in, so let's see what's gonna happen. I'm gonna delete everything. I'm gonna do session new will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, just sign in. But this is what actually is gonna happen here. Oh, you see, there you go. That's your button label.
I guess also because I was doing signing for another project, it was also like just email and password in plain text, and I was asking myself like, is that the correct way or not the correct way?
Yeah, so here's HTTP, right? When you're in production, HTTPS, whatever leaves your browser leaves to the HTTPS encrypted. It's not, you don't see that, but anyway. All right. Okay, so let me see.
Another question.
All right.
Where is the reset token stored? Because I don't see it in the database.
Reset token, great question. Let me see, user. I think the reset token, it doesn't come into your database. You see, it's not on your user. So, and I remember reading the PR where DHH was introducing these, and they were talking about, you see, they don't have the salt for your encryption. They only have the digest. And he said something like the salt is virtual. So they probably found a way to create that token where whatever you sent me will validate, will decrypt, and then we'll define whether that has been used or not, if it has passed time. So they probably bake a timestamp, a time to leave field in that huge token, so they don't need to store in the database.
But then to handle like one-time use.
That's another really great question. I guess we should read. I mean, we can read the code and see what it is. That's a great question. I don't know what they are doing, how they are solving this. But it's all there, open source. Maybe that's the next talk. We'll try to understand, dive deep, open the hood of there, and see how they do that. The one time, because it's not in the database.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Because device puts it all in the database, like invite token, the password.
Yeah.
Then one more thing is in that commit where you went like authenticated question mark, and you added a resume session.
Yep.
Or thing. One improvement is that you could just take authenticated and put it in the requires authentication method.
Put required. So
instead of going resume session, you can just go authenticated or.
But that's what I'm not doing. You see, look at my controller. What I'm doing my controller is for index. This is public. It's public, but I want to show sign out. If you're signed in, I want to show sign out instead of sign in. So and that's what when I was looking into data and looking to these and reading a data authentication concern, and I was like, if you do this, you are automatically, and I mean that's for index, right? You are automatically skipping the required authentication. But I don't want to require it on that method, the index. I do not want to require authentication, but I do want to run this method here.
Yeah, but I think it still works, right? Because you skipped it, right? So it won't hit require authentication at all.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to basically reuse resume session multiple times, wouldn't it just be keen if you just went authenticate question mark or request authentication? Yeah.
So anyway, there's probably a couple different ways to do these. This is what helped me build that view the way I wanted. And that's what I was saying. When I did this, like, man, this is provided by the authenticate, by the generator.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I monkey patching these? Like we grow to not like monkey patch. But no, this is not in a gem. This is inside my repo. It's like application RB. I can't change stuff in there.
But you see, look, just change, you take line 16, the authenticated method name, and you put it on line 21 instead of resume session. So you replace it by calling that method instead.
So you want to put here?
Yeah. This will fix.
Oh,
This will
okay.
fix like the previous bug,
Okay.
which is you can still go to the sign-in screen.
Yeah. Anyway, there are some different ways to skin this cat and see what it is. And I was like, but I was like, the fact that I do this, it resumes authentication, and then there is nothing else here other than this defines the session. This is what I wanted. I needed to find if there is a session in the cookie authenticated session. I want to run this, but I want to run this in the authenticated. It's like, is my user authenticated? There is an authenticated user here. From my view point of view, right, from this guy, right, that's all I want to do. There is a current user, right, current user.present. So I could probably have done, but current session, let me see here.
Current.session.
Current.session is going to be new.
So if you do that's fine. You go, it's like, unless, no, you just go current.session.present.
No, it's empty. Let's put a binding right there.
You haven't set it.
You haven't set it. So, but anyway, I mean, sometimes.
Yeah, but then I know it didn't like too deep. But then if you take authentic question mark and you place it in that spot, then
You see your current.session. That's new. Current session is new because what is running on this controller, it automatically get from the application controller.
Do you have a session in the database?
Yes. The session is in the cookie. We see that, you see, I have included my concern. So my home controller has all the concerns. And then if I do resume session, that's not a helper method, so it's not going to be available here, I think. Yeah, it's not. Authenticated is. Authenticated is because, let's see, where in this authenticator that we get that. You see, there you go. Authenticated is a helper method. It's a method here, and it becomes a helper method when you include the concern.
Yeah. But this try anyway, because I think it will kind of fix it will fix a lot of edge cases that you spoke about.
What do you want to move?
So you take instead of calling resume session and require authentication, you just call authenticate.
So this stays like this.
And then you take this method and you just put it here.
Oh, inside require like that?
And then you delete the resume session. So it's authenticated or request authentication.
Oh, instead of these.
Yeah.
Oh, but then really, you're really changing the code that comes with the authentication code.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is not going to work
It's not gonna-
because require authentication for the method index, which is my public, we're skipping. You see, allow unauthorized access.
Okay, let's see the
Allow unauthorized access. Skip
That's
this.
the thing, right? Authenticated question mark is just going to return no.
Yeah, so he's not going to find that session.
Yeah, and then you keep resume session or current session for present on line 17.
Oh, okay, you keep these. Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
fine.
So you add resume underscore session
Yeah.
or then it works. But then it means that like if you go to login and your session was lost, like it's on your cookie, then it's if you go to this is redundancy.
Anyway, there's a lot of different ways we can organize these. But anyway, those are good questions. All right, let me move on here now because we have the second half of the talk. Passkeys. So here was my guiding question when I was preparing this talk. In this context of Rails 8 authentication generate, what would it take to do something similar for you to do passkeys, sign up and sign in? So we just did, there is a Rails 8 generate authentication for passwords, for email and password. How that generator would look like if I want to do the same for passkeys. So that's kind of the question that I have in my mind. How much different, how much more complicated, how easy it is than just run being Rails generated authentication. So that's what that's kind of what was going on to my talk when I was on Slack and mentioned like, hey, will you guys be interested in doing this? And I always have to put 3 bullet points, and I needed something to do in the third one. And like, oh, passkeys up. But so, who here used passkeys? You used as a user. Have you used passkeys? Do you know what is passkeys? The idea. Do you know? Have you used it?
Yes, no.
Have you set up passkeys in your GitHub account?
Well, basically, that's how you use your forms to
Okay. So passkeys is this thing here. So I gave a couple talks about passkeys, specifically about passkeys, only opening the hood on passkeys and so on and so forth. Basically, passkeys is this: a public and private key pair protected by your device biometrics, used for challenge-based authentication. And this is a slide from my conference in Thailand, RubyConf Thailand. That's the passkeys iceberg that I also put in a couple of conference slides. My talk that was talking about passkeys was like this, and this is the whole passkeys iceberg. There's a bunch of stuff. It's a really broad topic. And then these just break down what those sentences are. Passkey is a public key pair. It's like a private and public key used to encrypt decrypt data, public key encryption, protected by your device biometrics, by your Mac Touch ID or your cell phone Face ID or Touch ID, and used for challenge-based authentication. So one main difference about passkeys and password is password authentication. You go to a website and you tell the website, hey website, here's my email and my password, authenticate me. So that's password authentication. You present your credentials and the website is going to authenticate you. In the passkeys world, it's not like that. Passkeys use a challenge-based authentication, which is basically the idea of public key encryption, where you go to a website and it's like, hey website, I wanted to sign in with my session, with my credentials. And then the website is going to send it back to you like, hey, here's a set of data, a string of data, encrypt this data with your private key. Because remember, passkeys is a public and private key. I keep the private key to myself. I'm the only one who can encrypt data. And if I encrypt, anybody can decrypt with my public key data. This is basically public key encryption since the 1970s. So in a passkeys authentication, that's what happens. You get your website, you say website, hey, I wanted to sign in. And then the website is going to send you a dummy data. And then it's going to tell you, hey, encrypt this data for me with Helio's private key. Like, yeah, I am Helio. I have my private key. I'm going to encrypt that, and I'm going to send my digital signature back to the website. And then the website is like, oh, okay, there is someone there behind the monitor pretending to be Helio. He's pretending to have signed this data that I told him, hello message or hello Helio. And now I have the Helio's public key because he created an account with my website and passkeys a long time ago. I have Helio's public key, and Helio's public key is public. So I can decrypt that digital signature, and if I get back the original message, bam, that's it, that's Helio. So that's what challenge-based authentication means in the world of passkeys. Which, by the way, is just public key encryption that exists since the 70s. So passkeys is just using this. But anyway, here's how all these things happen, right? So let's kind of remind a little bit what sign up and sign in with passkeys is, so we can then look into the code and how these get implemented. So a user in your browser, in whatever operational system you have, go to your Rails app. I wanted to sign up. This is a sign up. We're going to see sign in after. And then I was like, okay, Helio, you need to give me your public key. My Rails app is going to store from you is your email, username, and your public key. And then the site gets back, it needs an HTTP request response, gets back to the browser, and the browser is going to say now, hey, I need to create a passkey. Oops, I want to create a passkeys. And then your browser is going to use a JavaScript API to initiate the passkeys flow that happens on your device, either on your cell phone or on your Mac, on your laptop, or in your Windows that has Touch ID. And then after that, it's going to do the biometrics. It's going to create the passkeys, which is like the public and the private key. It's going to store the private key somewhere. If I'm on my Apple devices, that private key is going to go to my cloud account, or now all password managers, all the major password managers already support passkeys storage. So you can store your private key in your password manager. And then you get your private key, you get your public key back, and then you send back to the website, hey, website, hey, Rails app, here is my public key and my username. And then, all right, I will store here on my database your public key and your username. Next time you want to sign in, we're just going to do the sign in dance again, which is the same idea of the challenge based. Now the sign in, right? I already have an account there. I go and say, hey, I want to sign in, create an authentication session, and then the website will say, hey, Helio, please sign this data. I'm going to get my private key. I'm going to create my digital signature with my private key, and then I'm going to go back, my digital signature, send my digital signature here. When I get back to my Rails app, now I need to decrypt that digital signature with Helio's public key and make sure, and then check whether the data that I get back is what I told Helio to encrypt. And then if all checks out, you're authenticated. As you can see here, this is very different from email and password. So, but let's get back to the coding. Okay, so that was just a crash reminding of what Passkeys is. So now what it takes to build now the same thing for how we're going to put Passkeys on our website. So if I want to extend that Rails app that I just created that only has the authentication, email password authentication, I want to extend that to have Passkeys sign up, sign in. So this is the gem that everybody's going to be using, WebAuthn and Ruby. If your app has device, then it might be better you use device Passkeys. But GitLab does use device, but they already have these gems, so they probably not going to use these. And GitLab is starting again now to, they are trying to start the project to add Passkeys authentication as a primary authentication method. They have Passkeys now as a secondary. You can have Passkeys as a 2FA method. Hopefully in the next month or two before the end of the year, they will start the project to allow you to sign in with Passkeys. Anyway, back to Passkeys. So the same guys that created these WebAuthn and Ruby, they created this WebAuthn Rails demo app, which you can run on your machine. So let's look into that. Because remember, we are trying to make sure that we're trying to get like the bare bones Passkeys sign up and sign in. This app, it's that. This WebAuthn Rails demo app, which is on GitHub, you can fork it, you can look at the code, you can run on your machine. And this does sign in with WebAuthn, which is Passkeys, and register. So here's how I register. I do a sign up, right? Helio meetup, Helio Passkey. I'm going to give my username. In this case, this website is username and passkeys, not email and passkeys. So you provide your username, you and that, and then you create register, and then you can, I don't want my passkeys on my password manager, I want passkeys on my Apple device, then I'm gonna do my Touch ID on my device, and then, boom, I get an account. And what got created here is like I got created one user account, one user record, and one passkeys record. And then this is kind of part of your public key that gets installed in the database. So now if I sign out here, and I go sign in, what is the username that I created? Helio Meetup, okay. Helio Meetup. There we go. Someone is going to use my Helio Meetup. And then I can do this. And then I sign in. So this app is bare bones sign up and sign in only with Passkeys. So now, you mentioned one of these cases. Let me show you one interesting thing that I kind of like about Passkeys, but Helio Meetup. So all my devices are Apple. I have an Apple laptop and an iPhone. So if I do this and I continue to another device, I can do this. Turn on Bluetooth. Let me turn on Bluetooth now on my phone. It's already on. So now I'm going to scan this QR code with my phone, right? I'm going to do here my phone. I'm going to scan, sign in with Passkeys, and then I would like Face ID me. Come on. Face ID me. All right. It's not finding me. There we go, done. Boom. So remember, so what happened here is that my private key got synced with my Apple account. And then that private key I can access from my Mac or from my phone. You can do the same with Android devices, with Windows devices, and all of that. But anyway, that's an interesting cool stuff about Passkeys. All right, back to our presentation. Let's see. So now we saw sign up. We saw these two processes. We saw this happening, this whole process to create my account. And then we saw this whole process to sign in. And it's a very simple application. So we can look at that code. So we can look here. That app is running here. You see, if I look at here, user.last, Helio Meetup. That's what I just created. This is my WebAuthn ID and user.last.credentials. That's my passkeys, Helio passkey nickname. That's the external ID and the public key. That's my public key for that one. So all got created here in my local machine. In that application, if you let me open that real quick, and we'll look that in. It's a very simple Rails app. That's kind of the model that I created that I thought it was a good idea to create the passkeys generation. So typical Rails app models, user and credential. They call passkeys credential because that's the W3C nomenclature for passkeys. Passkeys is just a fancy, friendly name, very marketable. Credential is overused. But that's it. That's very simple. External ID, public key, nickname, sign-in count. So this is your passkey. The controllers, they have registration and session. And credential controller, but let's not look into that. We only talk about sign up and sign in. Registration. Remember that you have two HTTP requests and responses. One of them come here, one of them go there. And this is what it takes to create a passkey. And then this is what it takes to validate a passkey. So the whole code that you need to run inside a Rails app to create a passkeys and to validate is also tiny. There is some plumbing, there is some JavaScript, but the coding itself is simple, but it's not a single HTTP request and response. There are two of them. This application uses stimulus controllers. So there is a new registration controller. So the code comes from the browser, goes to the create method in the backend using the stimulus controller, gets back, does the passkeys on the browser, and then sends back to the callback, all through to this one. I didn't want to do that. I didn't do that in the one that I'm just going to show you guys in a little bit. But anyway, this is also a very, very simple, very lightweight sign up, sign in app with passkeys. If you want to put passkeys on your application tomorrow, go look into this. Very simple, very easy to copy these ideas, to copy this content, the passkeys and the credentials and all of that into your Rails application. I mentioned that if you are on device, so there's two. If you want to use passkeys on your application, you have two options. If you have device, there is a device passkeys gem. There is this device passkeys gem. There is also a device passkeys template app, which is pretty much like this web demo app that I just showed. So both WebAuthn and Ruby and device passkeys have a dummy bare bones Rails application that shows how to use the gem that you can try to mimic, copy, and see how they're doing and put everything in place. If you want to go the device way, you use device passkeys and device passkeys template or something like that. If you Google, you're going to find it. If you want to WebAuthn and Ruby directly, you use this app that I just showed you guys. Anyway, moving on here. All right, now we're going to go from that Rails application that we just did, and then let's put passkeys on it. So what does it take to put passkeys in that very dummy bare bone app that we just poke around with the Rails 8 authentication generator? You need the WebAuthn gem, and you need an initializer. That's how GitLab does. GitLab has this initializer as well. That's not how this web demo application does. They do a little bit different. We're going to look at the modules and migrations that we need, and the migrations. Credential, meaning passkeys. We're going to call it passkeys. We're not going to call credentials. And I need this WebAuthn ID on the user. So on the controllers, I need a registration controller. Remember, the Rails 8 authentication only did sign in. So now I decided, I'm going to start with sign up. But also passkeys, you cannot sign in, you cannot easily create a market user from the Rails console. So I didn't have any other option to do other than to start with registration. So views and that. All right, so this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to build. The browser, I want to sign up. I want your public key, create a passkeys, store on my account, get my public key, and this. All right, let's now see what it takes to do to get this working. All right, so now I just need to change my branch here. And let's, oh, what is that? Oh no, that's the wrong tab here. I already have a branch where I got that working. So let's look into that. All right, we already seen all the way to here, right? Remember, resume session, current session. So now passkeys registration. That's all it takes. These are all the files that I changed. I put the gem. Git ignores because I decided to use Rails credential, and then God gave me some headache. give me a headache that anyway, let me see. All right, good. Now I run my migration. It created my passkeys table, and it added the web of any Ruby user. So let's look into those migrations, right? This is my app. I'm gonna close this one. So let me close these now. We're not gonna look at Rails 8 authentication. I'm gonna use passkeys. So database, migrate, create passkeys. Very simple. Passkeys table belongs to user, has a label, external ID, public key, sign-in count, date last used. I'm not even use all of them. I don't think you're using these two. But anyway, this is all it takes. And now web of any Ruby, web of any ID to the users. There's something going on here with SQLite or my code, I don't know. I comment that one out. These is supposed to be unique, but the way this is generated is like a secure hand on random and a bunch of stuff inside the web of any web of in gem, web of in gem. It's just inside that, so maybe there's some incompatibility with SQLite. This is a bare bones app. Bare bones app now comes with SQLite as your database. I didn't bother to change it to Postgres. But anyway, I comment that one out. That was giving me some problem. I didn't have time to figure it out. All right, so let's continue looking here. So we're gonna controllers. Okay, we saw the migrations and the models. Let's look at the models now. User now has these after initialized. Probably this can be done in a different manner, but that's the user generated ID that comes from the web of in gem. And then passkeys belongs to user, a bunch of validation. Validation label, unique to use, to scope to user. So I can create two passkeys called my passkey, so they have to be unique. That's the model. So now controller. So the controllers that I need to get that working, I only created the registrations controller. Then I name in my thing is I wanted to sign up, and here's my public key. Just kind of trying to mimic these, right? I'm the user, I go here, I want to sign up, and then I send some stuff here. And then the user does something, the browser and the device, and then say, hey, here is my public key. So those are these two methods. And look at what's going to happen. I'm going to mock. I'm going to create a user object, not creating the database yet. Then forget about these. I just did some shenanigans because of the password. But these no passkey. I'm just creating a dummy password if you're signing up without password. And then here's the passkeys process. We're going to call this relying party, which is another passkey thing that you need to do. You need to use the web of any to call your relying party. So this is our passkey specific. Your website, your relying party, that's the agency on the other side of the passkeys authentication. It's a user, that's the relying party. So this is all, there is a bunch of settings, there is credential option timeout, there are some encoding, some algorithms that you can use, there is a bunch of stuff. There are some advanced settings somewhere that should be documented here somewhere. The web of any supports some advanced settings. It's not here. But basically what you need is this, is the origin. What is the URL of your website? And then once you create that, which is from the gem is going to do a heavy lifting here. Oops. And create a bunch of stuff for you. And then this is another thing that you're going to do. So if you want your passkeys to be user verified, user verification is required. There are a couple different options here. If you don't want user verification, you don't need to use user verification. But this is the strongest one that you have. This is what drives your device to do your biometrics. And then because we have two HTTP request and response, This is the beginning of the data. I'm just putting everything in the session and then going back to the callback. And then the callback is another page that is going to do this. Callback HTML ERB. I have a hidden form that's going to take me back to my here is my public key registration path. And then in that public is going to come my passkey credential. And then here's where I need to do my JavaScript. Or I have some debugger here running. So this is the very old-fashioned way. I didn't try to do stimulus controller here to connect your JavaScript to your controller and so on and so forth in a smooth way. I just wanted to see exactly step by step what's happening. So the first step is this. You create these options. These options, which we're going to see here, we're going to do. I think I don't want to talk too much Passkeys here, but we'll see how this is going to work. But just showing you the pieces in that two HTTP request and response calls. So then this page is not going to do anything. It's just going to get an empty form with a hidden field, just so I can do the browser thing, get the public key, put the public key here, and my JavaScript is just going to submit the form again back to that. I didn't want to do an Ajax call here either. And then here is where, what is this? This is totally bogus. This is not doing anything. This is probably just console logging. So then, here's where we use the JavaScript browser API to defer the passkeys flow to your browser and to your device, whether you're on your laptop or on your phone. In WebAuthn JSON, it comes from this guy here. And guess where this is coming from? Import map. That's the new Rails assets precompile. So here you create your pins, right? It's like almost a new gem file. And then this guy here is that NPM package provided by GitHub that does a bunch of stuff, that talks to your browser. But anyway, JavaScript, I'm not going to get there. I'm just going to get the create options, everything that I got from the backend. And you see, look, backend is that session. So this variable here is what the data over here is what gets sent to the browser and to your phone to do the passkeys. Then you do that, you create your passkeys and you get your credential back. And then I'm just putting the credential in my form and doing my form submit. And then when I do my form submit, I'm coming to here's my public key. And then here's my public key, you're gonna get that passkey credential, and then you're gonna verify, make sure there is a no man in the middle, that the public private key was created, it was based in the challenge. There is a thing here called create options.challenge, which does a SSL encryption challenge between the two HTTP request and response to make sure that the second one I can validate against the original one and it's still the same user. And then after you do all that, in the gem, again, relying party is the gem, WebAuthn gem. They are doing the heavy lifting there. And then they give you a WebAuthn credential, which is your passkey. And then I do user passkeys build. I create my passkey, right? Any question? That's it. That's all the code that we need to get passkey sign up. We're going to demo now. You guys want to see it? Let's see if it's going to work now. All right, here we go. So that is, remember we're in the same one. Oh, this one. Let's see if we have a session here authenticated. We do. Let's delete all sessions. All right, so now we are in registration. new. Oh, I created, so one of the things that I created in this is a registration controller. Oh yeah, we just saw that. And the registration controller has these methods, right? Callback, I end up not using it. Only these two. I want to sign up. Here is my public key. It's like a robot. I want to sign up. Here's my public key. I want to sign up. Here's my public key. All right, an email. PHP. phpnow.com. There you go. PHP Passkey. Just for the folks online, it's not a joke. One of our friends here that come to see our meetup, she's a PHP developer and she comes to join us. And that's why we were talking about what's going on in the PHP community, that if you guys follow along a little bit, it's like a worldwide drama on the PHP community. That was part of the conversation that we had. That's why I'm talking PHP and the Ruby, you know. Hope people on YouTube there. Where's the YouTube? Hope you guys don't get mad at me. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna put so here I'm signing up right now. I'm creating these we didn't have with the other one. I didn't build a sign up with a password, but I put password in here as well. So let's do a test. I'm gonna sign up with both of them. I'm gonna provide both of them. I haven't tested these. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but it's possible. It's gonna work. Let's see. But what I'm trying to do here is I am going to sign up the same way that I showed we did the sign up here with this web offering in Ruby. We're going to do now with our Auth bare bones sample. And remember, look at that. So that's just a commit that I did on those four things. See if there is anything else, you know. Oh yeah, my import map. I had to do that import map. This is my initializer. Let me see, the callback is the one I showed, is the when it does the resubmit. It's the second step. Okay, all right. Guys ready? All right. Let me make sure that I don't have a binding price forgotten here. So sign up. I don't want my password to go on my password manager. I'm going to do here. My passkeys is phpnow.com. I'm going to use my finger. And I'm going to sign up. So what happened here is I created a user with a user and a passkey. Okay, so let's look at here. Insert users. It's filtered, but you guys need to trust me. Web offering ID. I created my passkey, and then label PHP passkey. And I create a session. And then PHP now. If I go to hello, it's PHP now. If I do, let me see if I can do some hello.html. current.user.passkeys.each passkey. I also have not tested these. So now I have rehearsed these at home. So I'm a professional, but don't do these at home. Isn't it how the people say, like, it's like the firefighters, like a okay, so let's see what's going to happen here. What I want to do here, I want passkey dot public key. Is that right? Did I do that right? Okay, so that's the public key. So ID. What else we have there? Label, right? That's it. So that was the passkey, the public key that got used creating this account. So now let me destroy this session. Let me test my other session.delete all. So now I am not authenticated. But I haven't talked about. I have not talked about Passkeys signing yet. So let's do password signing. Let's see if that password signing works. What is my email again? php@now.com. I think 1111. Oh. So because I collected the two informations, right? I collect your password and then I went to the whole Passkeys flow. I sent all of that to the backend, and then actually the password here is not very nice. I did not send I did something bad security-wise for the password here. Because I think that passkeys, the password went back to the server and followed the same passkeys flow, came back to the session, and then came all the way back. Because the user is only created when the passkeys is creating the second HTTP request from flow. So there's definitely a hole here where this password is flowing more than it should. Anyway, that's why I did this initially in my registration controller. Is if you don't send me a password, I'm just going to generate a funky one, a random one, because my user model has that secure password. In order for me to create the user, I need to provide a valid password and password confirmation. So, but now in the form there I did this, but we shouldn't, the password should not, it went to the wrong flow. That's no good. Anyway, that's it. That's passkeys. That's sign up, right? So we just did all of these. And this is a small controller action, a gem plus a small controller action. This is a small view with a tiny JavaScript. And then this is the browser, your device, out of your hands. Here, another tiny JavaScript. Here, another small controller, very few things. And then boom, you did passkey sign up. Now, moving on, let's see what else. User sign in with password, passkeys. All right, now we did the sign up. So now what is next? Sign in. But that's going to be for next month. And this is it, folks. That's what everything I built for you. I wrote for you guys today. And my voice is kind of killing me now, right? Any questions, comments? Passkeys or not passkeys related? Did you get what you needed from passkeys?
Yeah, it's cool. It's easy. But imagine it's much more easy.
So if you're in the JavaScript, you have libraries and packages that will encapsulate all these large, the same way that the gem encapsulates for me doing a Ruby application. So you have a tiny little thing you're gonna put in the browser, in your views, talk to the browser, use the browser, and you have a tiny little thing, a few things to put in your server to do the whole passkeys begin to end. And I didn't do the sign-in flow, but it's a tiny JavaScript here, a small controller method there, and boom, you sign in. It is not much different than the sign up. It's kind of pretty much the same. All right, guys, thank you all. And that's it. Oh my gosh, my voice is almost dead. I got a few more minutes here. Phew, how long was that? It was a long one. Oh my gosh. Anyway, guys, let's see you next month. There is no parking lot today. See you next month.